Hi, I'm Lydia Smith from NIAB and I'm with my colleague Joanna Wolstenholme from University of Cambridge. We're here to talk about MillNETi, which is a GCRF funded project, and we have a number of colleagues. We'll hear a bit more about that from Joanna in a second. But it's all about millet, and here we are standing in one of the NIAB greenhouses surrounded by millet species of various different kinds. Interesting one that, because people don't realise that millet, unlike wheat, is a number of different species rather than just a number of different varieties. But over to Joanna to say who it is that's in our project and some of the key outcomes that we're looking for.
So MillNETi is a really international and multidisciplinary project. We've got a range of partners both here in the UK, in the Gambia and in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia we're working with Equisat alongside Bahadar University and JECTO, who are an NGO. And in the Gambia we're working with the MRC unit there to do some nutrition studies. And here in the UK, we've got NIAB, where I am now, and Stead Research, who are the crop science partners, alongside the University of Cambridge and the Centre for Global Equality, also in Cambridge, and King's College London. And the project as a whole is looking at how iron gets from the soil into the millets and then from there into the human body, both through the crop science and also elements of social science and nutrition science as well.
You might ask, why do you need so many partners to look at something which apparently is quite straightforward, like the availability of iron in millet? And this is because it's not just a science project. It really requires an understanding of what people do, how they eat whatever it is, the grain that you're talking about, and how you can get the nutrition out of that. And one of the problems with millet, and indeed most other grains, is that components of the nutrition that you could get from it are inaccessible just due to the enzymes that we are able to use. And one of the key problems is that there's a compound called phytic acid which locks up a lot of those mineral nutrients, compounded with the fact that there is also a nutritional difficulty in the fields in both the Gambia and Ethiopia. So there's already a lack of things like iron and indeed zinc. And then it gets into the millet, and then it's locked up with phytic acid, and it's not accessible to the human digestion, so it just passes through your system. So it's really important to work with our social science colleagues to work out how they're cooking it, how they prepare it, and whether there's ways of improving not just the genetics and the growing of the crop, but also the way that it's used subsequently. Millet is a really important staple crop for both Ethiopia and the Gambia. And there are a number of different species of millet, as I said earlier. There's pearl millet, proso millet, finger millet, barnyard millet, and a number of others. And they differ in terms of their nutritional requirement from the soil and their environmental conditions. And one of the key things about millet that makes them so attractive in these areas of Africa is that they are very drought tolerant. So we've been concentrating particularly on finger millet and pearl millet. I've really enjoyed this project. It's actually quite a short one in terms of these big multidisciplinary type projects. And the name, as I said, is MillNETi, and the reason for that is that one of the things that we wanted to get out of this was to bring these different disciplines together and see how we can actually take it on and look in a bit more detail eventually about the different components that we find out about in this sort of early project. So Joanna, what are some of the outcomes that we're hoping for?
Yeah, so we'd really like to see some future projects come of this, because as Lydia said, it's only a 2-year project at the moment. But part of the thing we're really working on is working across different disciplines, and we found actually that there's quite a lot of work to be done in terms of being able to step away from your focus of your discipline and work with others. And a particularly nice example of this is where the social scientists are working more with the nutritionists, for example in the Gambia, where they're looking at how people make decisions about food, what they grow or what they barter or buy, and what the driving factors are behind that. And actually, although they're doing surveys with local communities, it's actually taken a lot of theoretical academic work to put together a structure to make that work.
That interplay between the plant scientists and the social scientists is a really interesting one, and it's already set off some work that we're doing here at NIAB, which is to look at whether you can do something in the complex preparation of the grains in order to release some of those locked up nutrients. And one of the things we discovered when visiting Ethiopia last year was that there's a pre-malting process. When local people are making local beer, they quite often mix the millet with another grain. So, for example, they might mix it with a bit of maize or with a bit of wheat, or possibly even all three. And in terms of the plant science, that's very interesting, because in the germination process, the phytic acid is broken down in order to feed the seed as it starts to germinate. So we've set up a sort of a pilot piece of work to have a look at whether that's going to have an impact on the phytic acid that is present in the sort of scenario, the sort of the short time span that's required from starting off with a product like this, a dry seed, taking it through to something that's eaten. So we've got Professor Howard Griffiths at University of Cambridge to thank for putting this project together, and there's already 2 or 3 proposals being written more or less as we speak. So we're hoping that there'll be all sorts of things coming out in the near future.